Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am Janine Harry, a communication scientist by profession, here to give you communication tips and self awareness strategies through conversation. So, thank you so much for joining me. And I think it's also safe to say that I'm also here to give my opinion on what I would like to call my own little solo round table. And today I'd like to speak about something that I just recently found out about. Apparently, in the Netherlands, there is a law that states that you can have your life terminated on request through what is known as assisted suicide. And I found this out when I stumbled across an Instagram post by an Instagram user by the name of Joseph Darko, who has been approved for assisted suicide. And I was like, what? This is completely unbelievable. I have so many opinions and so many thoughts on this issue. So I was like, you know what, let's get onto YouTube and let's discuss it. Also, you will note that this is probably going to be one of my most conversationalist YouTube videos ever. I'm just going to be all laid back and chilled. So, yes, let's chat about assisted suicide. Also, I was quite reluctant to create this particular YouTube video because suicide is such a controversial, sensitive issue. And, when you are not a big creator, you do run the risk of having certain content censored, whereby other big creators are just able to speak about anything and everything. So, whatever happens, happens. I'm hoping that I don't get censored, but I really feel like this is a topic that I want to speak about. So, yeah, let's get right into it. So, in the Netherlands, the euthanasia law exists, okay, and this law was passed in April 2001 and it came into effect in 2002. And this law is quite literally called the Termination of Life on Request and Assisted Review Procedures Act. So, if you are living in the Netherlands and you are suffering from a terminal illness or an unbearable mental illness, you can pursue the option of assisted suicide. And when I came across this term, assisted suicide, I was like, what on earth is this? What on earth is assisted suicide? So basically, within the context of Netherlands, assisted suicide is considered legal, whereby other forms of suicide, such as, hanging yourself, overdosing, cutting yourself, and so forth, like, those usual forms of suicide. Apparently, that is considered a violent form of suicide, whereby assisted suicide is seen as legal. And I was like, what? It is so unbelievable that we can actually use language to speak about the everyday forms of suicide as violent forms of suicide and assisted suicide as non-violent forms thereof. And it's really fascinating because I get the ideals behind assisted suicide because here's the thing, right? It's not just about wanting to commit suicide and then going into the medical practitioner's office and, saying, like, hey, I don't want to live anymore. Please help me or assist me in ending my life. You actually need to be evaluated. And after evaluation, you can either be approved or not be approved with a particular date for your lethal injection. So, when I think about assisted suicide versus what we are now terming non-violent forms of suicide, I kind of understand why assisted suicide is seen as a good thing. Because, I mean, think about it. If you have been approved for assisted suicide, then this means that your family and your friends, they are aware of when you will pass on. They are able to say their goodbyes. They are able to find closure and make closure with whatever is happening. And it seems as though it would be a situation where there is not a lot of grief involved. There's a sort of acceptance for death. So I came across, this Instagram user by the name of Joseph Darko. He is 28 years old. He's a Ghanaian artist and he suffers from treatment resistant bipolar. And he basically assumed the option of assisted suicide, whereby he got approved. I think he has a date and everything for when he will receive his lethal injection. And he also started what is called the Last Supper Project. Now, the Last Supper Project basically came about as a result of his Instagram posts going viral. Like when he spoke about himself, being approved for assisted suicide. Obviously, that went viral because assisted suicide is not something globally spoken about. So when that went viral, so many people within Netherlands invited him over to their place. They wanted to host him. They are still in the process of. There are basically so many other people within the process of still wanting to host him, for supper. And it's so eerie that he calls this the Last Supper. In fact, if you visit his Instagram page, everything about that page is so eerie, the ways in which he speaks about assisted suicide and also the background music that he uses for his reels. It's really eerie. It really gives off this energy of death. And I have to say that I am, for lack of better word, just really fascinated and curious about what is happening within the world. And this is what I absolutely love about social media, the fact that I'm learning things within very informative and educational spaces. So, yeah, I'm actually quite glad that I now know about something called assisted suicide. I'm glad that I've been made aware of this. And as I said, very fascinating. And I am really curious about it, although I have to admit that I do get this really eerie sort of feeling when engaging with these types of posts, and specifically, when engaging with Joseph Darko's Instagram page. So I just want to say that 80% of the time, I do not judge people because I always say that if you've never been in a position where you felt that disempowered to the point where you needed to seek assisted suicide or seek, options for assisted suicide, who are you to judge somebody who is in that position, right? So it's really hard for me to say this, but I'm going to have to say that I am not judging this Darko gentleman. Um, if I actually, I mean, as I said, I say this before and I'll say it again, it absolutely fascinates me the fact that we are calling normal forms of suicide violent and legalized forms of suicide non-violent. It's fascinating because I've never thought about suicide in that way. So when actually thinking about this thing of legalized suicide, I like the ideal behind it. I like the fact that, his family and friends knows exactly when he will be passing on, and they will also be able to be with him during his last hours when he receives that lethal injection. So it definitely does make the grieving process much easier, whereby his friends and family are already, in the process of, gaining greater closure due to the decision that Joseph has made. So yes, I definitely did not judge. I love the ideals behind it. I even came across a TED talk on YouTube a couple of days ago in which this woman said that it is really great to plan your death. So yeah, once again, something I never thought about. But yeah, being able to plan your death and being able to plan who gets to be by your side, I think that is really awesome. But I think that people choose assisted or even violent forms of suicide, if that's what we want to call it, because they think they know exactly what's going to happen after death. And I came across another video, I think it was last year, when this particular man said, I'm not sure what his name is, but he said that what happens after death is so unfathomable that it is beyond human understanding and comprehension. And I honestly believe that what we think is going to happen after death is not going to happen after death because, hey, it is unfathomable. But because of this particular narratives that we have created about life after death, there is this huge belief that, life after death will mean going to heaven and everything will be fuzzy and amazing and beautiful. And although I can give you my opinion on what I think is happens after death, or I can even refer you to online podcasters, influencers, new world thought thinkers regarding their thoughts on what happens after death, I will not do so because I know that people who visit my channel, they're not here to know what happens after death. So all I can say is that, if we don't know what's going to happen after death, why don't we just choose something that we know? Why don't we just choose life? Because, hey, we know what life is all about. We know it's all about ups and downs and highs and lows. So why not just choose it and ride the waves? I know that this is going to sound sort of like wishy washy and all sentimental and motivational and so forth, but I honestly believe that when we choose life, life chooses us. There's absolutely no judgment or no shame in choosing assisted suicide, especially when you are dealing with the unbearable nature of a terminal illness or a mental health condition. But I honestly believe that when we are pro life, when we choose life, life chooses us. And when life chooses us, that makes way for miraculous things, such as miraculous physical healing, miraculous healing when it comes to mental health. So why not choose that which we know? Why not just keep it safe and why not just play it safe? And yeah, I was really hoping that, this Last Supper project that was sort of like created through Joseph's many viral posts regarding assisted suicide would, you know, sway him to change his mind because at the end of the day, just because he has been given a date for when he will be able to receive his lethal injection, he can at any time, cancel that. So I was sort of like hoping that maybe all these Last Suppers would have propelled him, to maybe see the beauty of life through connection that is created through these Last Suppers. But yeah, he says that that hasn't changed his mind because even through these Last Suppers and interactions with people, he has once again come face to face with the suffering of the human condition because so many people at these Last Suppers have also discussed their own personal journeys with mental illness and so many other issues that they are facing. So, yeah, it's quite sad at the same time. It's also quite fascinating. Um, so yeah, I just thought that I should hop on here and give you my opinion on assisted suicide, and I basically decided to do so because, yes, as I said, very fascinating. I was blown away, and wow, if you would like to, learn more about assisted suicide or kind of like engage with somebody who is in the process of doing so, then yes, please go and check out Joseph Darko's Instagram page. On the first slide of this particular presentation, I did leave his Instagram handle. So yeah, go and check him out. Let me know what you think. And yes, it is so awesome that I can have this, little solo roundtable with you, in which I am sharing my opinion, and I hope to share so many more opinions with you on this platform. So yes, till next time, much love.